All right, we were in Kufim Aleph, middle of Sif Dalid. Just start at the beginning very quickly. It's also Latzayer Tzuras Shemadur Shchina. It's also to make images of that which is the mother of Shchina. Kegoin Dalid Panim Hadi Adodi, like the Chayas HaKodesh, V'chein Tzuras Srafim V'ofanim Malachi Asharis, V'chein Tzuras Adon Levada, because also it says. The Rebbe makes Merkava, it says Tzuras Adam, whatever, so it's also Nechshav Madur Shechina. Just the Agab I mentioned yesterday about Tzuras Adam, there's a question about if you do have it, so there is, the price can say that if you do get something, you can, poke an eye out or, mar it in a way which would be mevazit. Because if the chshad is bitam avodah zara, so then if you mar it, whatever. Question was about dolls. What's it's a big if anyone's read the Alpha the Boss, the first few chapters, the famous thing how he takes his daughter's doll and knocks a hole in it or something, whatever. Do you have to do that? It's different. It's different. It's definitely a good thing. But question is that Tzuras Adam. There's a Shlomo Zalman I know said. It's also brought down. Her Bishmo that he said that there's a difference between Tzuras Adam and Tzuras of a doll. A doll is not a Tzura of an Adam. Although if you have a mannequin or something like that, or you have more nowadays stuff or different things like that, so that would be tzuras adam. But a doll is not exactly. It could be say it's a child, but it's not exactly. A doll is a certain tzura that looks like a doll. Now, number one, if it's even if it's a baby doll, so then that's with kids, it's a stubborn mevuzah because anyway it gets thrown around and I don't know and different things, and it's not. So it's not even. So that already is something. It's also it looks like a doll, doesn't you say it's mamish real, it looks like a baby. Maybe I don't know. Shlodim was so
to be like to the ceiling.
Yeah, but a bar no, but a bar.
A real Barbie doll and a human would be 7 feet tall.
Right, but but the thing is, that's different. The doll he's talking about like if you have, let's say you have a fancy a porcelain doll, right? So it looks like a doll. There's a certain, it's not exactly a human thing, but probably you're right. A Barbie doll or when I was a kid, I had different action figures and all these different types of things and whatever. Those might be more problematic because those are meant to be human, they're meant to be, or at least.
There's no human that size.
That doesn't make it. I don't think any. I don't. It doesn't. It's only. Yeah, it's a tzura. It's not the. You don't need to get the. Not proportion. So that could be there's more of a shiloh about, and that could be there's more to like black an eye out, or that could be
what if that said the fingers have to be separated, the toes have to be separated?
We'll get to that. We'll get to that stuff. We'll get to that stuff in a second. It's not but the big gadol discussion about tzuras adam. So Shlomo Zalman is what to rely on. Like I said, it sort of depends on it's a discussion. But if you find these things in mutter, someone gives them to you. Or there was a hochacha that they made them to worship. That's where it's three-dimensional. But something which is shokas, which is indented, like those which are woven into on a beged or they're painted on a wall. We're going to get to a discussion about. There's three levels. So mutar la soisam. There's a b'chagis a poskim here. There's three different levels of there's outdented three-dimensional figure. That's boletus. There is there's indented, and then there's drawn or printed. So the Taz says that drawn or printed is, we'll see the nafkaminias of shokas is even less. The Shach says that there's only two things. There's boletis and everything else, meaning even two-dimensional shokas. We'll get into the nafkaminas in a minute. Mutter la asaisa. B'tzuras chama v'levana, b'tzur of chama and the levana of the sun and moon, kochavim and stars. Also, bein boletis, bein shokas, because when you see them in the sky, they look like. They appear to you as two-dimensional. They don't appear. When a person makes a tzura of a sun, there's no reason to start making a ball of gas and fire, or whatever. Or you don't make a ball; you make a circle. So therefore, they are also bishokas. If it looks like they are, they're not. They don't have to be three-dimensional. Like I said, the Taz says that if it's drawn on, he says that that's more makel. The Shach is cholek. Taz of V'Chiddush, the Shach is cholik, and he says that they're all the same. They have all the same din, and therefore a drawn picture of Chama Levana would be a problem. V'im heimli hislamed lahavin laharis. The case in the Gemaras of Gamliel had suros made for him of the different depicting the different phases of the moon and how they look and what they suffer. They ate him. So one of the terutzim of the Gemaras I was allowed because of the Islamic lahavin and lahoyres that's used to learn, and it's obviously not used. It's not used for that. This is to have, not to make. There, the case of those other people made it for him. To make it is still a problem, but to have it, you're allowed to have it. The Islamic lahavin and lahoyres to learn and things. So if you buy a book that has pictures of the kid book of pictures that have drawn pictures of the sun in it and things, it's yesh ladum b'zeh. So the thing is, we'll get to that in a second.
Orrery, where you have all the planets and the sun.
So 1 minute. So we'll get to all that in a second. Kulam mutaros, afilu bolotos. Those are mutar if it's Islamic lahavi laharis. Those are mutaros, even if they're boltim. Yesh matirim b'shel rabbim like a chashta. If it's something of the rabbim, then we don't have to get rid of it because there's no chshad. Now, just to go through a few other lakudas here. Number one, staying with Tzuras Chama Levana. So again, we're talking about, first of all, the Shach says, and we'll see a little bit later about Adam, that Chama Levana, if it's not a full tzura, it's fine. All right, so therefore, teaching your kid, the kids want to draw a sun, whatever. It's better to teach them to just do the, you don't have to make them crazy. But better to do the sun in the corner. That's a normal thing. You do the sun in the corner. You do a whatever. Don't do a full tzura because it is a chashash of something which is deraisa. L'sasa niti is an issa deraisa. It's a lav deraisa. So it is kedai. Does it look like a sun? So the thing is, also lahasha, it's a sun in the moon, but it looks like melech or whatever. But just to draw a sun is an issue. I remember asking the Shiloh once about telescopic images and things and all these things, and that's not how we see the sun, nor is it how we it's not how we see So therefore, it could be it's not as big of a deal because you look at the moon is how you see the moon. If it's the moon's out too, does you see the crater? So I don't know. If it's a map of the moon and you want to have put a map of the moon, you put that. For astronomy stuff, the chor that's a havin or the horos, that's low. That's so you can figure. That's logara.
The sun is not a perfect circle. Is that?
No, I don't know. I don't know if that. I don't think that makes sense. I don't. No one says here you need a compass.
And it's crescent moon.
So the crescent moon is a discussion that I think the Darkei Tshuva talks about. Some say that is the chara that would be considered. That's how you see it. So Pasha says that would be a problem also. That's not chaser. If you didn't do the whole crescent, that could be. It's better not to do that. Piskei Tshuva talks about in the shul that they had a window. They made a shul had a window, a round glass window with like sun rays around the kilu, and they put a pasuk underneath or whatever. He said that's not appropriate. That's not. It's not. Is it mamish also? Is it drawing? He said it's a tziyur. It's not. That's it. It creates a tziyur. It's not. That's not something which it's shorabim.
Is it moon that has like a little nose on it?
So that lachor is that's not lachava. That would be fine. I don't know. The other thing which is brought out about shokas and about whatever is discussion about. We'll just comment. What about photography? Right. Once I was taking a picture of the moon and things or whatever. So, so it used to be with film pictures. Is definitely a question. Printing pictures. Let's say someone took photos of the moon, the sun. You can't even take photos of. I guess you can. It depends. But by sunset, you can take photos. I don't know. To print those pictures is a real shiloh. It's talked about a real shiloh because that's you're creating in Suras Chama and Levana. You're printing them out. I don't know.
And keeping it digitally.
Digitally, so that's the thing. You have to look into it. There's a whole discussion about digital pictures. Thinking of the Shabbos and stuff. The digital pictures aren't anything. It's just some light. It's not an actual drawing. It's a tzura. It's not. I mean, some people will say that it's a arai. It is a tzura because it's there. Other people say that like this is on Shabbos, it's a ksiva, chol hamoed. Digital is that really is that making a tzura? It's probably more makel. Put it that way. It's probably a lot more lahakel when it comes to that because it's not really. If it's just drawing it on the screen, it's not really drawing. I'm not sure. I'm not really certain. The other thing is the chumrah of the Taz brings of the Ramban, the Ran who paskin that even by Adam 2-dimensional drawings and figures are also usher. So, which would cause a big problem for all the photoshops and yeah. So let me tell you, this is the Piskei Tshuva. However, the minig doesn't seem to be machber. Like it's hard to should be machber. Someone says it's a good idea, but the very interesting Piskei Tshuva brings the Tshuva of Yaakov Emden, Shas Yavitz. So he says so it's 2 points of the Tshuva, very interesting. Someone brought him a coin. Said there was a Rav in Amsterdam who the Kehila had a coin with his tzura minted on the coin. And so they brought it to Yaakov Emden. He looked at it. He's like, I can't. This guy is a big Yerusha. I can't imagine. He told him to. They must have did it without his knowledge. He said, but it's a problem. He said, making a coin, even though it's half an image and all these things, it's a problem. But then he tells the story of his father, the Chacham Tzvi. So once in England, they wanted to the mechabit him, the Chacham of the Sfardi Kehila in London wanted to mechabit him, and so they sent like a fancy boat to come over, and they were Kabbalah's panim. They were he said mechabit him, like mamish, whatever, and they wanted to have an artist draw his likeness so they can remember his Hadra's panim. And he refused. No, I don't want it, whatever. So he said that the Kehila sort of tricked him, and they had an artist who was a really quick artist, very good and quick, and they captured his likeness very quickly. And this is the lashon of the Shilas Yavitz. He says that, and they made a painting of him. He said it was so lifelike. It was just chaser nishmas chayim. It was just like he was so lifelike. He was mishabeach it. Even his father wasn't didn't want it to be done. But he said they want to have the hadras pana and the mask of what he looks like. So everyone relies on this Yaakov Emden that it is okay to go ahead and to have pictures of tzaddik, and this is from the Piskei Tshuva brings. It's a very interesting story. It's. One of the Piskei Tshuvas. I have to look through. I don't know. There's a few of them here. So anyway, so that lachor is what they're somich on. So like I said, there is an idea. There is an idea to it comes to printing pictures of people. Like I said, the island's not marked on it, and there's no reason to make Really, you want to have a personal chumrah, not to. That's a personal. That could this is what the way the Chafetz Chaim says. This is deraisa. You have Vishitas Rishonim, but it's not the. It's what to think about.
This is the rice is what's last in ET, and then
Yeah.
there's also an internet chashad.
So that chashad is a separate issue. That's a plain printing. By chashad, so then the Chafetz Adam says to me by chashad nowadays to be mekel because no one worships much any of these things anyway. So even Adam, he says the only Adam people worship, at least in Europe or any it looks very different. It's very Meshunadik and whatever. Yeah, hanging off of I don't know whatever. So anyway, so he said they're not. He said you don't have to be makbid so much on chashad. The gross seems to be mashma for Adam. You should be makbid. Okay, I don't know. Makbid for chashad just means you can go ahead and mar it. That's all. That's all. That's all it means.
Does that help with the rice?
Yeah.
Also.
No, those also need to know. If you do an incomplete picture, but dafka, yeah, it could be it would work. The point is, if you dafka went ahead and did a picture and left out a circle of an eye, it could be that would be okay because that's showing you, but dafka made it incomplete. But something which is incomplete just because it's a bust or something, and it's just the head and the shoulders, and you made a bust of someone, is that the person say doesn't. Is what's it called? It's still an issue. The other, so we'll continue a bit here. Hey, Siv hey, tabash yeshaleh chaysam shutzuras adam tabas, a ring that has on it a seal, a stamp that has a tzuras adam. Im ha'isa tzura beletis. If the tzura is sticking out, usher, so then you can't keep that. Let's say you have a stamp with a person's face on it or something, you have so that's a problem. Nanicha umoter lachtoiba, but you can chaysim, but you could use it chad pami to go. You take a goyis thing and you do a stamp. That would be okay. Im ha'isa into wax. We're talking about into wax because it sinks in. Not ve'im ha'isa atzur shokas. But if it was indented, moter lanicha, you can keep it. But it's also to go ahead and to seal with it or stamp with it because it's a mold and even though so it's basically you're using a mold to make it, even you're not creating it be a dime, but using a mold to create an image is a problem. Also, even if a goy sealed it or stamped it, it's still going to be usher to keep it around.
The wax.
Yeah, the wax, right. Ruadim b'shar tzuros asuros. Any of these things, if it's done not b'derech asiyah, if derech stamping, it's also a problem. Vav tzuros habahemos chayos v'oifos v'dogim. Tzuros of animals, chayos oifos dogim tzuros ilanos is the shaim kiyoyt behem motor. Right, that's all mutter to have around. There's no problem. But to lots of isam, if you have tzura boletas, even if you have a 3D, a 3D something, in the sukkah you have 3D, like a 3D thing of whatever. It's okay. A 3-dimensional, like a hologram, I don't know. I'm talking about say a human. They make a hologram of a human. That's the same type of thing as digital picture. Maybe it's worse. I'm not sure. I don't know because that. I'm not sure. Obviously a 3D. Obviously, with 3D printing would be a problem. But hologram, I don't know. And the thing that so they asked for shilas is what we said before that kochavim are also. So first of all, the kochavim we said before which are also not talking about if you draw a little twinkle twinkle little star. It's talking about if you do mazalos, so constellations. You do the constellations. So they asked, and then that's the case. In doing a lion, doing whatever, any of these things, they're all mazalos of the constellation. Scorpion, those should be also. Here it says it's mutter. The teretz is that the only isser they say about the kochavim is if you do all 12 mazalos together. If you do the whole 12 mazalos, So that's what we're talking about is going to be, it will be a problem. But doing the one individual animal, individual thing is not a problem. Zion, yesh b'shoimer, shelo also b'tzuras adam v'darkon ella dafka b'tzura shleima. It's only if it's a complete tzura. B'chol evereha. So this is what you were talking about. If there are those who are makil if the fingers are separated. There are kulas, but it's hard to know because like if you're Indian, it's hard to make actual digits and like that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how far you take it. But Pasha says it means b'chol v'reha means it's not. But like I said, the person seemed to say even by a coin. If it's that was the kavana of it to make like a bust, to make half a body. So that's considered tzura shlema. If you bedafka left an arm off, so that would matter it.
Is there a problem with coins?
Of what?
Of coins?
Coins is no. Coins were coin. Well, that's the thing is to make the coin could be an issue. To keep a coin around is okay. About tzuras rosh.
Why should the coin be different from a...
No, the toisus. It's mevuzah. You take it to the bathroom, take it this. It's mevuzah. It's doch shad. To make it might be a problem. To mint a coin like that would be a problem, but to go ahead and whatever. I don't know if you, for example, if you go to like in America, they have all these like if you go to these touristy sites, they have take a penny and make a thing out of it. So if it's a picture of a man, it could be you shouldn't do it. I don't know. Aval tzuras rosh or guf below rosh or aim b'shum iser lo b'motzo lo b'oisa v'cheinogim. But if it's just a head or a body without a head or a head, it's not a full tzura. Aim b'shum iser lo b'motzo right b'cheinogim. And the minute it gets to be makel, I'll just mention the Yoreh's
You could make a bus.
the Achronim say that's what the Mashra from Shilas Yavitz, and the Achronim say a full bust is considered a full figure. It's not an incomplete figure. It's just that was your kavana to make a bust. I know there's I know you have to look, but let's to finish off the interesting the Yoreh's Drash. We'll save the last for Sunday. The Yoreh's Drash says that Rav Pischei Tshuva brings in. It says that he says nowadays you see there's all these people have slamming all around their house and things or whatever. He says one of the problems with having them is that this is what he says. He says whenever they make a tour of an Adam or things or whatever. So he says that there's a ruach hatuma from which is shora on the tzelim on the tzelim. So he said the Avodah Zarah used to be that the Komrim knew how to access that koach hatuma and control it, and that's what Avodah Zarah. That's what they had. They had power. He said, but every single time you look at Slomim, you look at things or whatever, he said there is a koach hatuma attached to it, and therefore it's mazik. It's mazik. He said people should be careful of being sure you don't have, to have these things around your house is He says it's what to think about. I was thinking, listen, Avodah Zarah, it's okay. So it's bottled, all these things, but it's like having people having nonsensical pictures around their house. Like there's like Yoreh, there's a Avodah Zarah. All these things are all Abizvaru and all. There's Isurim, and the Pischei Tshuva brings us Yoreh's Drash. People to think about that. There's what there's what to discuss. Anyway.
We read that Yoreh's Drash in the Pischei Tshuva?
He brings.